And I think, too, that speaks to the importance of the NNI, the Nelson Nash Institute. Nelson's legacy is not going to die with him if they keep his legacy intact, teaching professionals how to teach the infinite banking concept for this generation and the next generation.
Now, Carlos was the one who planted the seed for the Institute. It was his idea. He saw that clearly. If there's any one person out there that understands what I'm trying to get across, it's him. All right, I've been trying to get this across to my Austrian friends for 35 years. No success.
We sat down one day in Birmingham, the four of us, and that's when the practitioner program was conceived on actually a napkin while we were having breakfast.
So I think the purpose or function of the Nelson Nash Institute is twofold, that we're reaching out to the public. We want to have an anchor, a solid foundation of information that it's consistent with Nelson's original vision. So that's obviously the most critical thing. And because what happens is somebody comes up with a great idea and then other people tweak it a little bit and change it. They call it something else. And then when all is said and done, a few years later, there's 50 different things that are all kind of sort of related, but in the public, if they want to learn more about it, they don't really have a good source of information that they can feel like, okay, this is really stuff that's dependable and trustworthy. So that's, to me, that's the primary thing that I want to put into this, is to have this source of information, education for the public, so they can get sound advice and really see, okay, how does this thing work? What's going on here? But then the issue is this isn't. And this is how IBC is, I guess, in some respects, different from Austrian economics. Austrian economics, I can just write books telling the public this is what Ludwig von Mises thought about banking and money and the business cycle, and that's really all you need to do, and they can learn it and they can like it or not. But with IBC, if you write books for the general public telling them this is a great idea, you should look into this, they then need to go get a life insurance policy that's properly designed. And that's not what I'm going to do. I want to be an academic and, write on the theory. And so that's the other huge component of what the Nelson Nash Institute does with its IBC Practitioner Program. Is it's a training course, it's a rigorous interview process, the testing, and a contract that the financial professional signs to make sure that if they get clients through our channels who want a Nelson Nash or an IBC policy, that they're giving them the right thing, that they really are giving them something that Nelson would say, yes, that's what I have in mind when I tell people to become your own banker. And so the Nelson Nash Institute serves both roles, that it's providing general education and encouragement to the public, but on the other hand, it's also a training ground for financial professionals who want to integrate this into their practice.
And I think, too, that speaks to the importance of the NNI, the Nelson Nash Institute. Nelson's legacy is not going to die with him if they keep his legacy intact, teaching professionals how to teach the infinite banking concept for this generation and the next generation. I think that's vitally important.
We talked about what we would need to do. We would need to have a course to take financial professionals. We didn't want to take all of them. We just wanted to take ones that we felt would go through the course and pass the exam and at least let us know that they understood the right kind of policy to use, which was the dividend paying whole life. And we talked about having some kind of a contractual arrangement with the financial professionals and the practitioner program to make sure that if we were going to send the general public to financial professionals, that we could vouch for these people. And that was the thing that was conceived literally over breakfast one morning, and trying to solve the dilemma, the problem of what was happening out there. Once we had launched the practitioner program, the idea of the institute, being what would house all of the educational efforts for the general public, including the practitioner program, that's how that came about. And then it seems that it was probably a year later that we felt, in order to really tie it to Nelson Nash and the legacy that we all wanted make sure went forward. We named it after his name, the Nelson Nash Institute. We originally called it the Infinite Banking Institute, so it moved from that name to the Nelson Nash Institute, and that's where it is today.
I was listening to an interview, and Carlos had mentioned something that I thought was interesting. He was expressing gratitude and being thankful for you, and one of the things he shared is that he really appreciated how you were patient with him, and how you didn't let his Harvard MBA thinking get in the way of taking the time to help him discover this over a period.
Bob and I continued to work. We were making presentations to audiences, and we were talking about our first book, How Privatized Banking Really Works, and we were not yet formally connected with Nelson. And we had begun trying to bring the book alive by having a conference in which we would join together Austrian speakers from the Austrian school on one day, and then on the second day, we would talk to audiences about the infinite banking concept. And we called that event the Night of Clarity. And one of the things that we did, because Nelson's been an Austrian for 60 plus years, we would have a lot of Austrian speakers on the first day, and we also put Nelson on the stage during that particular conference. And then in the second days, when we would, for audiences that wanted to know what becoming your own banker was about, that particular part of the day was devoted to that. Nelson Nash and his son-in-law David Stearns really liked the Night of Clarity, and that it was truly now integrating, the infinite banking concept with the Austrians, and they liked that marriage very much. We were being called by financial professionals to speak to audiences, and what we realized is that we'd get on a plane, do a presentation, we'd leave, and we really didn't know these financial professionals well. We didn't know what they were selling the audience there, and so we became concerned that because we were seeing there was a lot of people that claim to understand what IBC is and how it works, and they sell life insurance based on that, but many times they're using hybrid life insurance policies that really don't work well for IBC. And we had no way of knowing that. And so we began thinking very seriously with Nelson and David about how to fix that. And we, as IBC was growing in popularity, we were also seeing that there was a lot of life insurance policies that were not working well because they were the wrong kind of life insurance policies. And so if you went to the internet, you saw a lot of information there that was calling IBC a scam. People shouldn't get involved with it. And so Nelson and David Stearns both were realizing that there was a problem out there, that there was a lot of confusion about IBC. As IBC was growing, the confusion was growing right along with it. Plus, there were some people that were marketing not exactly IBC, but were trying to recreate it, rebrand it to their own selling and marketing systems. Nelson and David both were expressing to both Bob and I that there was a problem that needed to be solved.
So as far as the legacy of what we're trying to do with the Nelson Nash Institute, to me, the obvious analogy is with the Mises Institute, with which I'm also affiliated, that we want to make sure that these ideas, that Mises was a great thinker, and we want to make sure his ideas are not forgotten or discarded, and also that they're not altered, that people don't just grab it and say, oh yeah, this Mises guy had some, but people don't really know what he said, or they're not really true scholars in that realm. So that's what we're trying to do. But it doesn't mean you're not allowed to disagree with Mises, right? That there's plenty of people associated with the Mises Institute who disagree strongly with some of his ideas, and that's fine. So it's not a cult. It's just it's a thing that wants to respect his legacy and continue and advance the ideas that he originated. And so likewise with the Nelson Nash Institute, that's what I think we're trying to do there. That's certainly what I'm doing in my capacity, is I want to make sure the public realizes there is this guy, Nelson Nash. He had a set of ideas that are very important for people to consider and look. It can change your life. It's done that for thousands of people. And we just want to continue that. But again, it's allowed to, we can disagree with each other and we can advance it. We don't want it to be just something stationary, that it is going to have to grow and advance, and perhaps we'll change the way, we get a certain idea across to try to reach a different crowd. But certainly we want to be always consistent and make sure the public knows that this is what Nelson's vision was, and this is the way he looked at things, and we want to make sure we keep that flame going for as long as possible.
There's a seminar book coming out. It'll be available at the think tank session. Yeah, I read that in the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so I won't participate in any of the seminars in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'll be passing the baton to David as they do the seminar after our think tank session in February. Got one of my choir member guys was a track star or whatnot, and so he's getting me a baton to pass. David, I've been toting this thing for a while, and it's getting kind of heavy.
Earlier you shared about, after your heart surgery and the 10 years of trying to take this message and teach it to people one by one and running into some barriers as you were going through that. Really, that was 10 years of capitalization.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Of time,
exactly.
effort, and energy.
Thank you for recognizing that, yeah.
And then I look at it today and I'm seeing, with the Nelson Nash Institute, and you talked about getting the right people on board. It's more important to have quality people, and that's part of, what the Institute is helping you to do, is to get the right people on board, so that really, since its inception, the book was written in 2001, and now here we are shooting forward. The Institute comes into being, it's many years later, so we get up to a point of capitalization to create this entity, and now we're seeing it's going through, a 5-year kind of, we're at that kind of 5-year mark where of capitalization in what's been building from that point out to today. And I'm personally starting to see how that's interacting with the world a little bit more, because, Carlos and Bob and podcasts and starting to implement some of these other, technology aspects that we can get information out to people that want the information.
Yeah.
They know how to find it. They have a way to get to it now that they wasn't really able to before.
Right.
I think that's really interesting, and I'm starting to see how the impact of that happening over a period of time.